The two procurement nerds are back. We are recording on Wednesday, May 20th. We were in person last week for a procurement event put on by Connect House. We've talked about it a couple times. One of the episodes that recently dropped was a live podcast recording. We also had a Waymoo episode that we recorded that same day as well. So it was fun, Dr. E, to spend so much time with you in person. And hopefully we'll get some more in-person or studio recording time this year.
100%. I definitely want to do that. That is so much fun in person. But even just doing it remotely is fun too. One of the things we sort of concluded with was the idea that we're talking about AI and data centers, and that I made the point that we're moving towards wearables. So we're going to get away from mobile devices, and really AI will become embedded into, I'm sure it'll get embedded to us as, into our skin or our brains or wherever. But right now, I think the next evolution is certainly glasses and watches and whatnot. And by the way,
has been the start, in my opinion. I know more people that use watches than anything else at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And Google just announced yesterday their new updated glasses. Meta has theirs coming out, or the next version of theirs coming out. Apple is rumored or has confirmed that they're going to launch some. So we're going to see glasses all over the place. And so like that's, and also we see the younger generation eschew what came before them, or they reject what has come before them. And so as good young Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're saying enough of the social media, enough of this being glued to a device. That doesn't mean they don't want AI or technology, but they want it sort of in the background. And so we've talked all about that, but now there's another trend that Gen Z is really leading, and maybe some of us that are getting older and are pining for old ways. But we're getting the reemergence of analog tech. And so I thought we thought it would be an interesting topic to explore. What does that look like? Because companies that were left for dead, or at least products that were left for dead, have made a resurgence.
Yeah. And something that I found really interesting that I saw a couple of videos this week. I am not obsessed like you, Dr. E, with TikTok videos. I want to disclaimer, but there were some graduation speeches, college graduations, where the speakers were talking about AI, and the students were booing them, like full-blown booing.
Yeah, I saw that.
They're so distraught and upset with the whole situation with AI and new college grads, recent college grads not being able to find work. So I thought that was really interesting, where they thought they were being kind of cutting edge and useful. And then that generation seems to almost in some sense be kind of rebelling against AI right now.
Yeah. I mean, not to trivialize this, but if you go back to the 1960s, at least here in the US, the 60s start with the adherence to the we'll call it the nuclear family, and the idea that you support the government no matter what, and you support the troops no matter what. And as America gets more ensnared in the Vietnam War and the conflict in those early years, you can start to see the division start to happen, and the older generation can't understand, because that's the World War II generation that fought World War II. And I know we're totally off topic here, but it's, the expectation is, well, of course you support the troops and you support the government and the president no matter what. And I think we are seeing that same dynamic play out here again, because our generations, millennials and Gen Xers, we're like, whoa, this is amazing, because we've done it the hard way. I mean, I remember typing and having to type footnotes at the bottom, like type on a typewriter or early word processor. It was so painful to use. Now to do references in Word, it's so much better.
Yeah, we appreciate some of the pain that we've been through that some of the newer generation hasn't necessarily had to experience.
It's funny. There's a TikTok where it's kind of talking about, unless you've experienced this trauma, we're not the same. And it's a picture of a cassette tape with the tape kind of strung out and a pencil, because you have to wind the tape back. It's like it brought back so many visceral memories. Or you buy the vinyl record and get a scratch and it's done. So
Throw it away.
yeah, throw it away.
So that leads into, so I know, Dr. A, you probably have a longer list than I do, but I've got a few things here bucketed by category type. So I want to start off with music and audio. So you queued that up nicely with your comment. So two things that have really stood out to me and relate to my world is the resurgence of vinyl records.
Yeah, that's the top of my list. Yeah.
I never even thought that would be a thing. And Paul's daughter, Elouise, is graduating from Cal Poly actually in less than a month. And she loves vinyl records. It's like her and her friends, it's their thing. And they go to the music stores and they buy the $1 or $2 records. And it's like what they look for now. And she's a big collector. And then my dad, who just had a birthday in March, we and my parents just bought a new house in Sonoma and moved at the beginning of the year. And we bought him a really cool electric record player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because my dad has become really into vinyl records again. So that is now at the center of their living room and they use it every day. And it's just, I never thought that I would be buying my dad and Paul's daughter vinyl records.
It's wild. I don't know. Are cassettes on yours? Because
cassettes are on mine. Not as much though in my circle. Like I don't see a lot of the people that I know. I know it's a thing, and if you go on social media, there's all these people talking about it and collectors. The vinyl records has been more relevant in my personal world.
Yeah, I think there's the thing that because vinyl was at the top of my list, and there is a unique sound to the vinyl that at least the super found people swear by. But it's also a very, like the LPs are big and they've got big pictures on them and they become their own pieces of artwork. And it's a thing, and it's tangible. And I guess, so I'm just going to go on my little rant here because I think it's important, because talking about vinyl and cassettes, I don't think CDs are quite making the same.
No.
Because that's when everything got digitized and everybody was like, that there was a real divide between that. But
I had CDs growing up. That was we had a bookshelf and there were the games section. There was the encyclopedias.
Yep.
On the bookshelf, and then there was a whole CD section.
And there was probably DVDs or VHS, cassettes, and all of that.
Sure was.
But like, I have bought the same music. I mean, first of all, like we both missed the 8-track era. So when I started buying music, it was vinyl and then cassettes and then CDs. So I bought music 3 times. Then we digitized it. And so I remember I spent years I'd go to the library, I'd check out like 15 CDs, come home, rip them, take them back the next day, get 15 more. I'd swap with people. And then, Napster comes out, and so then we just steal all the music. But now I think I pay for like 6 streaming services. So like I keep paying for the music, and now I don't own the music. Whereas and I think Elouise and her friends are probably experiencing this, that, oh, I went and bought this record. I own the record now and I don't have to pay a monthly fee. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Or I I am a Spotify user, but I'm too cheap to pay for the non-commercial plan. So when I'm listening to my country music, because I have a hard time multitasking, unfortunately, I can't listen to podcasts and work. So
Yeah.
I podcast when I exercise, but I have to listen to music when I'm working. And I have commercials,
Yeah.
but I'm not annoyed enough to pay. So I do. But my point is, someone like Elouise and her friends, they don't have to worry about commercials because they've got the vinyl.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that this is very, like, it's an important trend because it gets to the core of, well, the one thing I do say the love about the Spotify's and I use YouTube Music and the Apple Music is that they make recommendations. And so you get the power of sort of cross-pollinated intelligence. So that is a nice benefit, but boy, paying for all this stuff is
Well,
brutal.
what happens, it's out of sight, out of mind. So once it's the $4.99 or
Totally.
but you get 10 of those and then it really adds up. But most people, which we've talked about before, aren't going in and looking at their bill line item by line item every month. So it definitely can quickly add up. My other thing in this music and audio category is wired headphones. I don't know if you've seen this, but I was actually watching something last night and I popped over and the guy had, like, it looked ugly to me. And I'm like, why is this person not using headless headphones or wireless headphones? And then I started looking and it seems like it's a trend coming back where people are actually purposely wanting the wire instead of the wireless, which blows my mind because I'm all about the wireless.
Yeah, me too. But my wife uses the wired still.
Oh,
She's
so
never.
she's a wire person.
Oh yeah, I think there's gonna be like camps and on this. But like, can I tell you how? I mean, I can't even count the number of times because I walk the dogs that I had wired headphones and I get everybody, like I have to move quickly or something, rip the things out, like, or they get ripped out. And I went through so many pairs of wired headphones that it was just ridiculous. So.
Well, I don't think they look great with the cords like moving around. And then I also find them a bit annoying. Like they just kind of get in the way all the time. And I don't even have dogs to be working on. So not my thing, but I was surprised that I've seen an uptick even in the last couple months of more and more people like on TV or on videos actually like intentionally using them.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Anything else in that category before we move on?
No, no, not in that category. No.
Okay. So my next category is photography and video.
Yep. Had the same. Yep.
So this one is a trend I've seen, particularly in weddings and larger events, is disposable cameras are like the cool thing again.
Yeah. I just got to interject. So when Denise and I got married, we put disposable cameras on everybody's table, and then somebody collected them, and then we got back from the honeymoon, them all developed because you had no idea, and some of the stuff was so random.
Yeah.
It's just so fun.
Yeah. But I was at a couple events this year and I don't know why, but I took extra note. I'm like, wow, with all of our phones here that have incredible cameras in them, these event organizers have gone out of their way to buy disposable cameras. And then you even see when the film comes out, it takes, a couple minutes and then people actually will use them in displays. Yeah, so you'll see like boards with clips and then you can go put a note and clip your photo for the host. And so there's like a whole movement and almost a whole economy and a set of materials and supplies that I feel like are supporting this change in the photo video space.
And I would have said a couple of years ago that all that stuff, you could probably hardly find it. And I think there's now a cottage industry of that. that has come back, and there might be more suppliers now of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's totally wild.
Yeah. I that was the only one I noted in that category. So I don't know if you have one, but that one was a big one for me.
Well, I'll build on that because there's the disposable cameras, and then there's also the Kodak, that where you get the instantaneous photo. And at the conferences, and we've talked about this before, now you get those photo boxes that print and email you, which I think is brilliant. So
yes, and we just had our company off-site at the end of April, and they did the popular photo booth where you've got all the props, and but they give you your printout of your 3 photos with your team, and I feel like that's kind of a cool little takeaway memory for folks who attend something. All right, so my next one is around writing and office. Again, some of this stuff, I just feel like this is so crazy. So first one is fountain pens. And I don't know if you're in the same world, but I feel like a lot of people I know are now collecting fountain pens again. Like they go to a fancy, I think you didn't have a pen at Connect House last week. And I had stocked up. I was at a fancy hotel called the Breakers, and they have incredible pens.
Yeah.
So I stock up when I go somewhere that has really nice pens, and I just, keep them in my backpack. And so I just find it interesting that I've seen other folks that I've been around, and they'll pull out like a stash. I'm like, what is it? Oh, we collect, unique or high-end fountain pens. So I never thought pens would become popular again. And I don't know if they are, and that's just my world, but I wanted to call out that thing that I've noticed.
Yeah. I mean, well, when you go to all the international airports, they still have the Mont Blanc stores, and you can go buy fancy pens. And it's funny at Carney, when you get elected partner, one of the gifts they give you is a fountain pen, like a really fountain pen with the plate that's engraved. And I said I didn't want it, and I don't, because I just don't want more stuff. Maybe we'll do an episode on minimalism, but I was just like, I can't, like that's just going to be no. So I declined that.
And this is for people or listeners. There's a show that I love right now on Apple TV. It's probably my favorite show on Apple. It's called Your Friends and Neighbors. It's with Sam. And they do these call outs on the show. I swear they must get a ton of money from endorsements. So when they break into a house and steal things, they give you an overview of the item that's being stolen. So they do like an up close, then they flip the image around, and then they give you some info, and then they give you like a cost. And on one of the episodes I just watched, they went in to steal a fountain pen.
Oh my God.
It was some like crazy expensive, they only make a few a year, and the really wealthy people in this neighborhood were collecting the pens. So it made me think like, wow, there are people out there that pay a lot of money for fountain pens and collect them.
Well, the thing is I have terrible penmanship. So like to not use I hate using pens, and my like hand cramps up really quickly. So yeah, it's just, I'm not a pen person.
Yeah, I don't have pretty handwriting either. Cursive, forget it. Other than signing my name, I don't even know that I could fully write a couple sentences in cursive anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't think I could either.
So my other item in this category is paper planners and physical notebooks.
Yep.
So again, people in my orbit and world now are starting to revolt against typing everything with, being on their computer and phones so much. And there's been a resurgence, I feel, at least in my network, of people wanting paper and pen that they can actually like have that motion of writing things and being able to cross it off. Anything else in writing or office, Doctor?
I've got several.
Okay.
So the first one that is that sort of in that realm is mechanical keyboards. I'm sure you may not remember this, but the early keyboards were very, very tactile. And when you push a button, it would click and click.
Which I cannot stand on calls when somebody's supposed to be paying attention, they forget to mute and you can hear them clicking away on their keyboard.
Yeah, well, back in the 1980s, the keyboards were so much more mechanical and tactile, which is great. So imagine whatever you hear would be times 10. So mechanical keyboards are definitely making, so when you press a button, you feel it and it clicks and it's like, so that's sort of one end. And then typewriters are making a huge comeback.
I know, and this blows my mind. I was never in the typewriter generation, so I have no desire to learn to use one. Especially, I'm a really bad speller, so spell check has been like a lifesaver for me. But I know typewriters are becoming a thing again, which is just crazy.
So when I was in high school, I took a typing class, and it was an entire room of the IBM electric typewriters, and you would just hear clack, yeah, the whole time, and then the like the return, whatever the carriage return is, because the thing would go like it was a physical thing that went across, and then when you were done typing, you had to push it back. It's like so funny to like think about this. It's like a whole room of people typing.
I wonder if the sound is like part of the appeal, because if you're on a computer and you have all your everything shut off, but that is like a constant noise that maybe some people find comfort in that.
Well, I will say, so two comments on that. One is, when I finished my last book, I would, because I was very distracted while writing it, I wanted to reward myself by buying a typewriter, a physical typewriter, because I wanted to get back to that, again, tactile, kinesthetic experience. But also, and I've been looking around to sort of see, again, my concern is there enough supplies that, like, so you're not paying $500 for a ribbon. But the other thing is it does give me comfort, because my dad actually had an electric typewriter at home. And when I was young, like a million years ago, and little, I would turn on the thing and it would vibrate and hum, and I would push keys. And so
as a kid, it was like a toy.
Yeah, exactly. Because we didn't have computers. So, yay for typewriters. Like, sign me up. I want one, and maybe at some point.
If you get a typewriter, we have to do show and tell on an episode.
Exactly. I would totally do it. I just, they're big and they take up a lot of space. So
yeah, talking about decluttering before the show, I don't know that the typewriter is going to help you in that category.
No, not at all. All right, next category.
All right, next one I have is reading.
Yeah.
Which kind of ties into writing in office, but I separated it out as a separate category. I see print books becoming popular again versus everybody going and doing the ebook on the Kindle.
Totally.
Especially, I've been traveling a fair amount the last 4 weeks, and I noticed a big difference this year versus last year with people having printed books on planes and in airports.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
like I feel like when I was traveling last year, there was a lot more Kindles, and now people are actually like getting out a paper or hardback book. So that's just kind of an observation that I've noticed. And then I've seen magazines also, like people reading, and I'm kind of nosy and I'll try to see what people are reading. And it seems more niche. Like, people aren't reading a general sports magazine, but it's something much more specific and focused. And so maybe we're going to see kind of a media shift around this, where people are getting back into niches.
I'm convinced we will. So I've been a Wired magazine subscriber for, I don't know, many years now. And I only use I will only read it when in the magazine form. I will not, um, I can't do it online. It just, if I need to reference something, I'll like, if I read it in the magazine, then I'll go to the Wired website. But no, I can't. So I love magazines, and I am getting much more into books, especially for my research. Although, to be honest, some of, like, for my research, I'm buying the book now, taking a picture and having AI translate it or OCR it. So, but yeah, and my niece, she's a Gen Z. She hates, ebooks and audiobooks. Now,
Yeah.
I love audiobooks. Like, that's like my primary, even though I love reading, audiobooks, I consume a ton of them.
I'm not a great reader. I'm definitely a podcaster. Like,
Yeah.
I want a really nice voice to listen to, somebody who can make complicated things easy to understand. So books were never my thing, whether it's printed or digital. Podcasting has definitely been my jam. And then I don't know if this should be a separate category, but it kind of ties into reading, and we've talked about this previously. But I feel like handwritten letters and postcards are coming a thing again. And more and more people, especially if you're like in sales or marketing or, trying to get in front of people, I think there was too much of a move away towards nothing written.
Yeah.
And now I think there's a novelty and a real specialty around it. So I'm seeing more things being handwritten and mailed than I did the couple of years ago.
Yeah. And you're a former print person. I also would extend that to more printed materials, because again, in a physical world, as we sort of embrace the physical world, these things matter, like banners on, what do they call them, on the light poles, or the bus butts or whatever, that, like, in the banners on buses. And I don't know, I'm on the fence on billboards, because you drive into San Francisco and all you see is just like 400 billboards.
Well, so, and everything AI, literally every billboard I saw last week, I think, was an AI product or an AI service.
Yeah. So, but I do think that print is like clever print, and you always have, you had the good and the bad and the ugly with print back when you were doing it. And there were some really clever ideas that cut through the noise, and just like you get with digital media. But I thought that some of those print things were amazing.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say here is I've started to see people do thank you notes again.
Yeah, thank you notes.
So like when I was in high school and when I was a kid, we were trained, my sisters and I, after holidays, so Christmas, birthdays, our parents would sit us down and we would write thank you notes to people and send them out. And then that kind of went away, and that was like uncool. And now I feel like it's kind of cool again. So again, I don't have great handwriting, so it takes me some time, but I should make more time for it. But I like getting stuff in the mail. And to me, if somebody sends a thank you note, I feel like I remember it. And I have a couple actually, and they're in my office on my desk, because I get so few of them that the ones I get, I remember.
Absolutely. I mean, again, to be memorable, like, why not? It's, I remember after our wedding, because we had like 450 people at our wedding. I mean, it took forever to write the thank you notes, and my wife was much, much better at it than me. But because, again, like you, I was like, it hurt my hand. Like, I have terrible penmanship. So
yeah, I get it. All right. Anything else for reading?
No, the only thing, nothing else on reading.
Okay. I have two more kind of categories on my list. One, home and lifestyle. And again, this one is not necessarily something I'm doing, but I feel like a lot of people I know, and if you go on social, is people baking bread. themselves is crazy to me. Like, and sourdough in particular seems to be super popular right now. So I feel like we went from people like not baking or doing much at all, and now it's like becoming a thing, and people are making videos and posting about it and having bread parties. Again, my household is not a big cooking household, but I see it coming back.
Yeah. I mean, it took on greater popularity during the lockdown.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, also, it lost all, like prior to the lockdown, there was the anti-carb movement and I'm not even going to guess when those years were, but the keto diet and the Atkins diet, and everybody like got rid of carbs, and bread was like the first sort of casualty of that.
So, and now it's well, and then it's like, don't eat butter, eat butter. Now butter's good for you again, so put butter on your bread. I don't know. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing. This is just a sidebar for a future topic, but there's a lot of these TikTok videos that compare ingredients in American products, but the same product in the UK or Europe, where the regulations are tighter.
Actually pronounce and understand everything there.
Yeah, exactly. And like an orange soda in the UK is orange, where or it's a different color. And maybe here it's because there's so much dye in it, it's orange. And anyway, and bread's one of the ones where I guess the yeast, they do some chemical process. And so from a sourcing point of view, it would be an interesting topic to deconstruct the ingredients of bread and how they're sourced. So we might do an episode on bread.
Maybe we'll find a bread influencer.
Oh my God, yes.
And chat with us.
Yes. Yes. So nothing else on bread or cooking for me.
Okay. And then my last category is transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And I have noticed an uptick, and I'm in Danville and a lot of the year, and people are riding old school bikes again. So, the big handles and the baskets, and that people are like literally going to the grocery store, and you can see, or they're going shopping and they're and I don't know if it's intentional, like there's a boycott because gas prices are so high and people are all upset about that, or if it's just becoming like a thing. But I just think bikes in general, I've noticed, at least in my area, I've seen more of, and more old school, like bikes you would see from like the Miss Marvelous Maisel time period.
Awesome. Well, I've got one in transportation. I'm going to go slightly different direction. The older cars are becoming more popular for two reasons. One is as you get into the late 90s, 2000s, there's more and more computers on board. And as you get to more recent ones, you start to get where the car is controlled by a central entity, and sort of like BMW wanted to charge a subscription for heated seats. And it's like the idea that you would pay for a feature but not be able to use it, like it's in the car, and like that's the struggle, or you can't.
Subscription model to the extreme.
Oh my God, yes. And so there's a desire to go back to simpler cars, and by way of buying older cars and maintaining them. And at the same time, if you've checked car prices lately, they are absurd. I mean, they have gone through the roof. We bought a new car in 2020, the beginning of 2020. It was like $25,000. That same car now is $50,000. It's just like crazy. So nobody can afford this stuff. And so used car market has done really well over the last, well, certainly even during the pandemic.
When I moved to Austin, when I joined Source Day, I did not have a car for almost a year because I moved right at the time where the used cars were almost more than or equivalent to new cars.
Yep.
And I just couldn't bring myself to pay a fortune for a car that I wasn't necessarily going to need that super long term. So I waited, and it was hard. I had a really tough time finding a decent used car. And at some point, I was probably going to have to buy a new car. And I just don't like that. I think cars lose tremendous value the second that you drive them off the lot. So it's almost like we're coming back to that again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so it's interesting to see, the analog. There's an interesting sort of, like, there are a lot of safety features that got put into cars over the course of the 1980s. And so there's this like short window, and I don't know what it is. I'm not a car person, but the short window where you got a lot of safety features, but you didn't get all the computer systems. And so I remember it was like 2003, we were looking at Volvos, or maybe it's 2004 or 5, somewhere in there, where they had just switched over to Microsoft to run the computers. And I was like, I cannot buy a car with Microsoft as running the thing. I was just like, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't.
My parents had a super old school Volvo where there was a seat in the trunk. And so my sisters and I would sometimes, right, if you got shafted, I think is what we used to say, you were in the trunk and then you were facing the car in front of you, which was kind of creepy. I mean, we were kids and thought it was cool, but the people, like if you're at a long red light, you have these kids just staring at you. So I know all about the Volvo.
I remember that because and there were, at least when I was that age, young, there was no seatbelts. So
we had seatbelts. We were at a seatbelt.
So there used to not be seatbelts. So you'd sit in the back of these station wagons, and So that's one of the nostalgia points on all these Gen Xer videos I watch.
All right. Any other categories, Dr. Reed? That's my list.
I missed one on photography. The 35 millimeter film is coming back. We did talk about it in terms of disposable cameras and Polaroids, but also I want to mention, because there is like dark rooms where you'd have to go in and use chemical baths to develop the film. That's making a little bit of a comeback, I think. That's one. And then shortwave and ABM radios and CB radios are, I don't know if they're making a comeback, but they're still floating around.
They're not extinct.
They're not extinct. And I mean, there's some, well, you didn't like, I mean, did you watch Smokey and the Bandit or no? So yeah, you would, it was before your time, but in the 70s, there was all this, like because the technology was sort of shortwave CBs and ham radios. And so that, like, if you were doing anything with tech, it was that kind of stuff and DIY. And that, that's Radio Shack was very popular.
I know Radio Shack. Yeah.
Yeah. But you caught it at the end, probably when they were trying to figure out relevance. But, you'd have these CBs in your car and, breaker. That's like so fun. But there was in the movies too. Like there was all these movies that like the CB became part of it anyway. So shortwave radios also just something to keep in mind as the threat of electromagnetic pulses become a thing, sort of post-apocalyptic communication. So that preppers have brought that. Letterpress printing has taken has come back. That's where you physically lay out the print and then
it's totally old school.
Yeah, totally old school. Board games made a big comeback, and
puzzles I would put in there as well. I was reading something that there's like families and groups of friends, and it's kind of a cool thing. People are actually doing puzzle competitions.
Yeah,
so they're flying to different destinations and people are in a big room and you've got your setup and you are competing against other people to complete. And who would have thought that people are competing to finish puzzles?
Yeah, well, for a gift from my wife, you can take a picture, like one of your pictures, and you can have it turned into a jigsaw puzzle. So I did that, and I bought the 500-piece one, and it's hard. It's harder than it looks. So I'm like, oh, 250, we could just get through that. No, the 500's hard. And then probably the last two for me. Well, one, I think paper maps are coming back. Now, I don't think this is a trend yet, but I'm going to argue at some point we're going to lose GPS. And
I hope not. I am not good with direction. I love my maps on my phone.
It's funny here. I'm holding up for the audience. I have here a laminated paper map of the Las Vegas area, which is where
do you actually use it is the real question.
No, I don't, but I have it in case I need it. So so my new goal is to get a Rand McNally. Like, it's time to get a Rand McNally to prepare for the future.
I do remember, though, my parents were big AAA people, and we would go before a trip. You'd go into AAA and they'd have all the maps for free. And you go and pick your maps, and then they'd sit in the glove compartment in your car, and you
100%.
would bust them out, and you'd get your highlighter and your pen, and it was the thing.
That's how you navigated. That's literally how you navigate. And my wife and I, we drove many times across the country, and especially in the early 2000s, where GPS was a separate Garmin thing and wasn't always. We had a Rand McNally, and we would follow the things and do the calculations. So, and then the last one is, and this is going to speak to you and your generation, is the Nokia brick phone, sort of and maybe a little bit of the flip phones, where we again, it's getting rid of the distraction, getting rid of the social media, like a phone just to be a phone, and that's it. And so it's they're making a huge resurgence, and there's like, if you, which I've done, look for flip phones or dumb phones on YouTube, tons and tons and tons of videos.
And you and I don't have kids. You have fur baby kids. I have no fur baby kids, no human kids. But I feel like I've heard parents are doing this too. Like, they want their kid to have something for an emergency, but they don't want them becoming addicted and getting, inundated with all things internet and social media. So I feel like we could see a trend even more with parents purchasing them for their kids.
Yep. I think that's it. That's analog old tech coming back.
All right, that's a wrap. We will see you next Wednesday.